Hello and welcome. It is Monday, December 29th, 2025. Maybe you can hear that outside. We're getting near 50, 60 mile an hour winds. We've been under a high wind warning and we're actually getting lake effect snow. So if by chance the power goes out, I'm sorry. But here we are. This is something brand new. My family, my parents actually gave me as a Christmas present. I was very surprised about this. This is the brand new Lionel FEC Autorack Set. You see the Gevo here, which is an ES44AC. ES stands for Evolution Series. 44 stands for 4,400 horsepower. And AC means it's an alternating current unit. These are AC traction motors. Anyway, we've got 4 Autorack sets. I'll try to make this review not very long because I know there's a lot of YouTubers that make a video long and make a review about a set, so I'll try to make this not that long. Kind of the basics about this. Anyway, we have the ES44AC. This is the paint scheme that came out in real life in January of 2024. Now, if by chance the information I'm giving you is somewhat wrong, let me know in the comments. If I messed up on something, I do apologize because this is a Florida railroad. I never had FEC in our museum before. I know of them. I've never visited Florida. I've never seen the railroad in person, so if I get a little info wrong, I apologize. But from what my knowledge is this paint scheme here started in January of 24 last year. Well, it's going to be, when you're watching this, it'll be 2026 probably. As you can see the design on the paint, which now I will take my camera off the tripod. This is the design that they went with currently, and this is what's been running now on the FEC. And if you notice, on this paint scheme, it does look and resemble the new paint design like FXE has. Well, as you can see on the side, this is affiliated with Ferromex. The owner of Ferromex, Ferromex bought FEC. I recall the announcement was made in March of 2017, and then it was officially taken place later that year of 2017. So what we have here is a similar paint design like FXE, just in this blue, if you want to call it a can color, and then you got some affiliations with a grayish color. Now when I look at my video camera right now, this gray has in my viewpoint has a kind of concrete gray tinge, tiny bit of bluish color, whereas I'm seeing on my video camera screen it looks like it's just solid gray. So I don't know if that's picking up in the video. My personal opinion on this is very nice. It's not the fact of that the original FEC paint, there were plenty. There was blue, then you had the red, yellow, which I liked. This is a modern paint scheme. And kudos to Lionel, in my opinion, of how well that the paint job actually is. Now, I presume the green leaf stands for green energy. Now, I don't know if that's true. Like I said, somebody wants to make a comment, let me know. I do know that these FEC units there's a tank, like a tank tender, if you want to call it, behind it on a flat car, and then there's another Gevo usually behind in real life for that type of fuel. I don't know exactly what that fuel is. I'm still kind of learning some about that. I know BNSF has done that too. But anyway, to move along here, we have our first Autorack car. And this one here in the set depiction, all the graffiti here. Now be in mind, in our museum we got a lot of people that love graffiti. But while we have this here, I'm actually going to take this off the track. I'm going to put it right here, and then I'm going to take my hand, lift it up, and I'm going to turn it around. And on this other side, we have a little bit of graffiti. This one's hard to see. I'd have to tip the car over. She gets, it's still not the greatest to see there, but they did this, which I'm very pleased about. So I'm going to actually take this over. And another thing on this set, which is going to be hard to see, which I plan to maybe paint them a different color, but if you zoom on in, you can actually see the bearing caps turning. Now, when I was a lot younger, I believe it was 2007 or 2005 when Lionel came out with the first roller bearing caps, rotating bearing caps, and it was a CN grain car. It was the first car I ever got. It's at the other end of the layout, so it gives you a perspective. The cool thing about these Autoracks is, yes, they do have the opening doors like all the others. Each car is roughly 22 inches in length. They do have that coupler like this, which goes straight back, and that looks like underneath like this. So you can go a little bit tighter of a curve, but still these are large cars. Here we have a CSX Autorack. Now, CSX is my favorite railroad, so I'm very pleased that they did include this. And the one thing about the Autoracks, if you can see, is they're actually see-through holes, which I'm very pleased about that. And one thing is that I am very gentle about is when I pick these cars up, I don't squeeze like here, because there are some people I've actually talked to that they pick up the car, if they squeeze too tight, these will actually break. So I don't do that. Then we move down to this car, Big Art, which this is the depiction in the catalog. I see they put old school listed right here. So it's pretty neat that they did this, because there are Autorack cars that are like this with this big graffiti on it. There's actually one I've seen at CSX, at least in the past 10 years. I've seen 3 times where it says rodeo on the side in letters just like this, but different colors. And then I'll put this up like this, so I put my hand up here. I'm going to turn it around. We have, if you're asleep, now you're awake. Awake now, Z. So this is another side they put graffiti on. So that's pretty darn cool that they didn't keep the same graffiti on both sides. They actually changed it up, so then if you want to run this car, you could turn the car around and do the same thing. But like I mentioned in the earlier, every single Autorack in this set, which there's only 4, have rotating bearing caps. So I'm gonna put this back. I'm gonna put Big Art in the thing, because I'm gonna actually have a separate video for this set, just going by, so people get to see just the set itself. And then we come to the last car. Now this one is interesting. You probably saw one of my other previous videos I did. Well, anyway, we have the same thing. Now this one is different. We have an electro coupler on the end, pickup rollers, both ends, and then down here we have a FRED for flashing rear end device. Now back in the day, FRED, you know, the F word stood for something else. But inside, which I'll open this end up, hopefully you can see in here, these doors are a little flimsy, so don't jam them up. There is actually lighting strips inside, LED lighting strips, actually on both levels inside. So I'm putting this down, and now they actually don't have the latch where it picks up, but I got to make sure I close this up and have the latch in front like they do in real life. Of course, this one, like I mentioned, has rotating bearing caps. A little bit of a squeak noise, so I got to oil that. But here is a fascinating part at this end. We can open the doors up, and I actually have to pull that over in order to open that door. We have, on this inside, we have end of train device on, max volume, and run program switch. This is a Vision Line Autorack. Of course, you want to make sure that you have this in the run position after you program it. So that's what I did. And the end of train device is there. Up on the top, which is precisely right up there, that is a volume knob. And if you turn it to the right, it turns the volume all the way up. So let me get this started to go here. So I have a 15-minute time limit on making YouTube videos. I'm going to pull these cars back. I'm going to put Big Art back here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start up the unit. Pulling this back just like this. Now be in mind, I'm only doing this and picking this up just for this video as a review. So in real time, when I have these trains operating and layout, I don't do this. So I'm going to put this just like this. I'm going to put it right here back up together. Of course, these are couplers that open up. Now, one last thing I want to mention to you. When you get this set, if you do, I had a problem with it. Maybe you don't. But pretty much every Autorack car had this, I call it a plunger, had this sticking out. Like it wasn't even a coupler. And when I opened it up and I kept doing this, I'm thinking, why is the coupler not closing? And so I put this in. Of course, it closes it up. It locks it in. That is one thing I noticed on almost all the Autoracks. All the couplers were open like that when I pulled them out of the boxes. Another thing to note is one other thing. If you're putting this on a longer Autorack train, which right over here I have already Autoracks lined up. I have a long one. If you add more weight to them, there's about 20 or 21 on this train. I actually had to super glue the couplers shut because some of them actually opened up. But anyway, let's get started with starting up the engine. I'm actually going to turn on the power to the track. And I'm going to use my cap 2. And I'm going to get this started up so I can get the whole review in ratio. I have it in as engine 20. One thing I want to note is this is not classified as a Vision Line engine. Like my ET44 I have in CSX, they have cab interior. This does not. This is just seated figures, kind of resembling like one TH did. Now I'm going to turn up the volume. I'm going to play the 5 different horns and the I'm going to do the 5 different bells first, which is what I'm going to do now. And press the aux 1. Stands for electronic bell. There's the 5 different horns. Now that one I like, that's a P3, but it's incorrect horn for the railroad. I'll just go back to that because it sounds, I like that, it's a K5LA. So I'm going to move it up. One thing I noticed about this, I don't know if anybody else got this. It does make that noise. I'm thinking, which I could be wrong, I'm wondering if the flywheel inside is hitting the plastic, the protection plastic in the cab. Alright, so let me move down to the last feature. Alright, let me stop this now. And here comes the, probably outside of it, the most exciting part of the whole thing. Now, here you go.
Where are the keys? We set up the darn alarm.
And then the end of the train. Alright, thanks for watching my video, my Autorack review of this, for this FEC set. My time limit's about reached for a YouTube video. Thank you for watching.